Some people are difficult because they're hurting, and some people are difficult because they enjoy hurting you. Either way, if you're not careful, your peace, your confidence, and your emotional center get yanked away from you, and suddenly you're the one acting unstable. You're the one who's upset and even self-destructive. It's a trap. And the most powerful thing that you can do is to recognize it early and break the cycle, not by controlling them, but by taking your power back. Now, difficult people are like a black hole that pulls you into a warped reality. Have you noticed that? You think that if you just explain yourself clearly, they'll understand. And you think if you're kind, they'll soften. And if you forgive them, maybe they'll stop. But with difficult people, like truly toxic people, what works on ordinary relationships not only doesn't work, it can make things worse. So the more you try to fix it, the more they escalate. They bait you, they provoke you, they twist your words, they play the victim. And the next thing you know, you're reacting. You're dysregulated, you're apologizing, you're trying to make peace. And they don't care. They're used to it. Some of them even love it. It helps them get out of depression and torpor with some anger and conflict. There's a lot of energy in anger and conflict. They want some energy. They're like sucking energy out of you as you stand there trying to reason with them because it gives them a little charge. And the truth is, most people are not like this. Most people don't need to make others feel small in order to feel okay. But difficult people, and I mean the chronically manipulative, controlling, or explosive ones, they do. They need it. It's how they regulate their emotions. It's how they feel virtuous. It allows them to feel that their life is important, that they're doing something meaningful. I mean, everybody wants that, right? But if you don't have something that's actually meaningful, you could be very vulnerable to slipping into this kind of behavior. And if you grew up with trauma, you may have developed a radar for these people. You sense the danger, the unpredictability, and weirdly, it feels familiar, like home, right? So when they start to push your buttons, instead of backing away, you feel drawn in. You try harder, you start explaining, you start defending, you start trying to be what they need. But let me tell you, you could hand them the moon and they'd say it's not enough because the game isn't about getting their needs met. It's about something that you have no control over. And this is where your power begins. It's not in figuring them out. It's not in fixing them. It's in noticing what's happening inside you and stopping that reaction. The moment you stop reacting, you break the power that they have over you. So how do you do that? How do you stop reacting when someone is right in front of you, raging, guilt-tripping, gaslighting, blaming, threatening, crying, accusing, right? Well, first you have to pause. You get out of the story that they're creating because every difficult person is trying to hook you into a narrative, like maybe that you're the bad guy, maybe that you owe them something, maybe that you're too sensitive or too harsh or too selfish, too cold. And if you're not grounded in yourself, that narrative takes over. If you're dealing with someone who's known you a long time, it's hard not to turn into the version of you that they see. Have you noticed that? That happens with family of origin visits too. All of a sudden you're like regressing into that, like how you used to be, or how you think they see you. And that's what that heavy, depressed feeling is when you leave. It's the person they see infecting who you think you are, but arguing about the fake story of you with them it's not going to set you free. It's not going to do anything except upset you. It's more likely to make you fall down the rabbit hole, in fact. So instead of saying, that's not true, I didn't mean it that way, what I really said is, I was trying to help. What you need is a split-second reset, a quiet voice inside you that says, this is not mine. I am not doing this. I'm not going to argue. You don't have to say that out loud. You have to decide it inside. If you say it out loud, it provokes them. You're sort of like continuing the fight. Because when you're grounded, though, when you've made this decision inside, you can see it clearly. Anything you say to them will just get them going. This is about their unprocessed pain, their craving for peace that they can't find, the feeling of resolution to a problem that they can't admit is a problem. So this is just a venting of their emotional immaturity. And the more you engage, the more you get tangled up in their sticky logic. It's like flypaper. So don't step in it. Now, that doesn't mean that you become passive or weak. It doesn't mean that you let people walk all over you. Taking back your peace means you stop dancing in someone else's storm. You step out. You let them spin while you stand still, peaceful, standing tall. And sometimes that means walking away, not in anger, not to punish anybody, but because your well-being is not negotiable. Now, a lot of people confuse boundaries with ultimatums, but boundaries are not threats. They're just facts. A boundary says, I will not participate in yelling. I will leave the room if this continues. And then, if it continues, you leave. No explaining, no pleading, just action. And here's something most people miss. You don't need them to agree with your boundary. You don't need their permission to have it. You don't even have to let them know you have it. You can very quietly honor your boundary without explaining it to anybody. But if they know about it and they mock you or they guilt you or they say that you're abandoning them, that's the test. Because if your peace depends on their approval, if you can't take the peaceful action and take care of yourself, if they don't like your decision to have a boundary there, that's the test for you. That means you've already given your power away. And most people don't really understand this part that I say. They don't have to realize that you just acted on a boundary. You can step away without, a big pronouncement or making a speech to them about it. You can make some reason that you have to go. You can make something up if you want. It doesn't matter. Like at the point where you're exiting a relationship with somebody, it doesn't matter what you say. You're just trying to avoid the conflict that's going to harm you. So, you don't want them getting triggered by it. That's actually very strategic. And that's a mistake a lot of us make when we're, angry and we're in conflict with people, is we say things that trigger them like, that's it, I'm never going to talk to you again. That might be true. That might be your decision. Could be a threat that you actually don't intend to carry out. But either way, announcing that is just going to trigger them, and then they're going to respond how they do. How dare you? Get back here. I need you to understand something too, and then you're back in the conflict. Your boundary must be known to you. And if you warn them about boundaries, let's be real, it's a huge trigger for them. So you can leave, and all they have to know is that whatever you choose to tell them, oh, you know what, I have another call on the line, or I have to get to another appointment, but hey, I'll talk to you later. Okay, all right, bye. You don't have to talk to them later on any particular timeline. You get to figure it out one day at a time. But you say this nicely, well, I'll see you later, so that your boundary or your leaving doesn't provoke them to start trying to re-engage you. There's a limit to how much strength that any of us has in those situations. And if somebody provokes us enough, it's pretty hard not to get back in the fight. So people who rage often are a bit dissociated when they're doing this, when they're raging at you. So they usually don't even remember what just happened. And one of the hardest truths is this: some people will never treat you with basic decency. And it's not because you haven't loved them enough or because you haven't tried enough. It's because they don't want to. The more they hurt you, the more in control they feel. And that is never going to change with more compassion on your end. So when you stop trying to change them and you start changing how you respond, everything shifts. You learn to walk away when conversations become abusive. And you learn to disengage from arguments that go in circles. That doesn't mean you're never going to see them again. It doesn't mean you don't have compassion for them. But an argument going in circles is not helping anyone. So you learn to say no without guilt. You learn to protect your energy. And some people will call you cold for this, and they'll say that you're heartless, selfish, unforgiving. But they're wrong, because taking back your peace and your power, it doesn't make you cold. It makes you sane. And when you've been around difficult people long enough, you start to think it's normal to feel unsafe and to have to jigger reality to make it work for everybody and walk on eggshells. When you feel that low-level dread in your stomach before you speak, well, don't get used to that. When you finally take your power back, it feels wrong at first. It feels odd. And especially if you get criticized for it, you'll second guess yourself. You'll wonder, was I too harsh? Should I have given them one more chance? But that's discomfort. That's what healing feels like. You're out on the edge now of your experience. So you're paying attention to that. If you're going too far into harshness or inconsideration towards others, you can pay attention to that a little later. Handle the moment with your boundaries. Go use your tools like your daily practice to go process what just happened and see how everything settles with you, after a day or two. See how that sits with you. So that's how you could start to have space for a new experience with people. That's the part of you that's, used to being hurt, starting to get stronger and climb up out of the hole. There's nothing more powerful than a person who can stay calm when chaos is thrown at them. Not because they're suppressing their feelings, but because they've learned to regulate those feelings. And they've learned to choose peace. They've learned that reacting is not the same as responding. And here's the thing, you're allowed to walk away from conversations that go nowhere. Have you ever seen my ninja boundaries lesson? I have a free handout. If you want to have it, I'll put it down in the second link down below. I'll put the first link will be the quiz that lists signs that your ability to connect with people and have boundaries was affected by trauma, if you want to check that out. And then for the second link, I'll show you the ninja boundaries. This is something you can take with you for family holidays or tough situations when you just don't want to get involved in the fight. So that's down below. You're allowed to stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. It feels like that, right? They insist on misunderstanding. You're allowed to have peace, even if someone else is in pain, and that is not selfish, it's wise. Now, I'm not saying you never work things out with people. Some relationships are worth fighting for. And sometimes when you change how you react, there's room for them to see how they've been creating conflict. It's possible that they will change for the better. But when a person shows you that they will not respect your boundaries, that they will twist your words, that they will use your empathy as a weapon, you have to let the truth land. You can still love them, you can still wish them healing, but you don't have to stay in harm's way. So this is what taking your power back looks like. It's quiet. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to be loud about it. You don't need to convince them that you're good. You just need to prioritize peace over the illusion of winning or the seductive craving to prove that you're right. And when you do that, you start attracting better people. People who don't need to tear you down, people who don't punish you for your honesty, people who bring out the best in you, not the most broken in you. That's when you know you've actually healed. Well, it's not really like an island where everybody's healed, but you've really made tremendous progress. Not because the world stopped being difficult, it never stops, but because you stopped giving difficult people the keys to your peace. So you're no longer playing their game. You're not in a game. You're in the truth. And the truth is where all your power is. If you like this topic, I've got a video that builds on it right over here, and I will see you very soon. When strong emotions trigger dysregulation, your thinking changes. You can go into reactivity. You might withdraw, get silent, get confused, say things freak out, or do something impulsive.